to the governor, Tim Walz, repeatedly, and he was repeatedly on the grounds. And many GLers are angry with me and insisting that I would have been soft on Walz and that I would have thrown him softball questions. And none of you know that, because the interview did not happen. I was prepared to tell Walz that he has been a miserable failure when it comes to crime. Crime has exploded exponentially under his watch for a variety of reasons. And I think indicative of the fact that he has been a failure on crime is that he has really nothing to talk about right now, except abortion and education. And he's a big fan of spending more money on education, which is preposterous. It's more than half the state's budget. There's no evidence that money spent equals academic achievement, but he really has nothing to stand on right now. And it's a shame that he did not have the courtesy to come on the show.
You're not going to like, well, maybe it'll delight you. One of those days, I think it was Friday of the first week, after our show got over, I was walking by that big stage that's right behind us.
Yes.
And he was up on stage talking.
That's 25 feet from us.
Yeah.
Well, that's when I went and approached him and reintroduced myself, as I usually do. And he said, oh, yeah, that's when he said to the press secretary, write that down. And I did go back and forth with Claire, his press secretary.
He really has a lot of people, doesn't he?
He does have a lot of people. And I had talked with his chief of staff while I was at the airport running into the governor. And I really thought it was going to happen. He was very enthusiastic, and he could have made it happen.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. This is,
well, then that was just for show, I guess.
That day I walked by him, there were about 5 people in the audience paying attention.
What was he talking about?
I have no idea. I didn't even break stride.
You know what, though? It's water under the bridge. So we'll move on. Except what we cannot move on from is this horrible, horrible crime problem. I mentioned during the fair that, is it Cedric Alexander?
Yes.
The new public safety commissioner in Minneapolis.
The big kahuna.
He says all the boilerplate things, but I'm going to tip my hat to him because he's astonished that $7.5 million was given to violence interrupters. And he said, A, are they interrupting anything? And B, where is the evidence that the money's being well spent? Do we have a log of the calls? Do we have a log of their appearances? Do we have a log of any accomplishments? And I'm really rooting for the fellow to get to the bottom of that, because the emphasis in both towns, Minneapolis and St. Paul, as well as other areas in the country where you get closest to the country's tallest buildings, is merely to hire more and more people who have no earthly idea what to do about crime.
Yeah.
And they're completely missing the boat. Crime is starting. Crime, your path to crime can very well start at birth and be the result of poor parenting and poor discipline in the home, and the decline of moral and ethical integrity, which, to my knowledge, no authority, the closer you get to the country's tallest buildings, has ever addressed, because it's anathema to what they believe in. They can't possibly believe that. Their idea of moral and ethical integrity has been flawed. They believe criminals are victims. And I've had it happen to my family twice in the last 3 weeks. So when people say, well, it's hitting close to home, no, it's hit home. And it's hit home, and it's going to hit your home. And we have, as a nation, we have allowed the political process to be turned over to adult children, and they are not capable of handling the basics of a city. And the chief basic of a city is crime and safety. And they're miserable failures. They're all failures from the governor on down. And the left is ruining the cities of America, completely ruining